Hello, everyone, and welcome to Zest with me, Shel Marie, the podcast that will take you on a journey from the hustle to the harmony, fueling your passion whilst finding your peace. Today, I am thrilled to welcome Anne, a certified Christian coach, author, blogger, musician, and I'm sure lots more, whose journey has gone from burnout to a breakthrough and has completely transformed her life, which I can't wait to hear all about, and the lives, this is very important, of countless others. After leaving a 50-year accounting career behind, Anne now empowers men and women to break free from fear, people-pleasing, and emotional exhaustion, guiding them back to rediscovering their true identity in Christ. Through her faith, music, and her signature 5F framework, which I'm sure we'll talk about, Anne helps others unlock peace, purpose, and freedom. What else could we ask for? One surrendered day at a time. So welcome, Anne. How are you?
I am great, Shel, and thank you so much for having me as your guest on your podcast. I look forward to the conversation and sharing the message.
Beautiful. So to begin with, there were so many things that I'm just really intrigued by your journey, and so many powerful words that a lot of us can really relate to, and often feel like we're almost stuck. From burnout to exhaustion to, confusion, misdirection. And of course, none of us always have, everything just perfectly laid out. But I feel sometimes it just comes and you just get that clarity. So with that in mind, as I feel like you have definitely, like most of us, had that beautiful, maybe to look at it now, maybe not at the time, journey. Where did it all start? Like, what was the turning point? Because I think sometimes we hope that it doesn't have to come but sometimes it's just like enough is enough, isn't it?
Well, I will just tell you, after for myself and for Christians, I was saved or born again when I was young, right before I became a teenager. But when you're that age, you don't grasp the entire gravity of the message. And it's like anything else you try or you work at, you have to learn, and you grow as you get older, or you learn. So, but I had this pattern over my life. Granted, my faith was stronger over 5 or so decades before the turning point came for me in 2019. And my faith was stronger during those times. But during the times that it wasn't, that's when I took my eyes off of God. When I did, that's when I looked for affirmation from others and the validation. And yes, most of the time that would come quickly, but we're humans, and that is only temporary. Yeah. And then I started setting expectations so high on family, friends, and even myself. And when that happens and they don't meet those expectations, or you don't meet your own, you start the negative, thought process. Yeah. Your inner critic, which we all have, works overtime. We start believing the lies that we're unloved, unworthy, and we hold resentment and bitterness on the others. But what we don't do is we cannot change somebody else's actions, their thoughts. We can only change our behavior, our thoughts, and our actions. And it all starts with the inner critic and our brain. And that's what I had to learn. But more than that, during those times where I call it backsliding from my faith, when I would result into those people pleasing, and people pleasing also is codependency.
Yeah.
And codependency is when we try to avoid conflict and we try to appease
Yeah.
others and more than ourselves. And that is dangerous to your health physically, emotionally, spiritually.
Yeah.
And it got to a point with me in 2019. I'll just fast forward real quick. In 2019, I stopped going to church. I stopped reading my Bible because it's imperative to read your Bible and have that daily quiet time with prayer with
Mm.
God each day to fulfill this daily walk. But I didn't do that. I stopped doing it. I became the
Mm.
couch potato watching TV. And when you stop doing all of that, you become isolated, and that is what they call the kind of like the flight response for fear. You just become
Mm.
isolated. You hide from others because you don't want people to see what's going on, inside you. Because I wear
Mm.
my emotions on my sleeve. I'm not a very good liar, which I'm glad
Same.
I'm not. But to say the least, it just came up. When you live by yourself and you have four walls, they become either your biggest enemy or they become your best friend sometimes. Most of the time,
Mm.
it's my enemy because they don't talk back, and I need that friend to tell me to hold me accountable. But, and that's when I just don't look to God. But it got to a time where I think I was on the verge of depression, really being depressed,
Mm.
and I whispered the word suicide. And I don't think I would have carried it out, being my faith still. There was still, I had a strong faith. I
Mm.
just didn't exercise it like I should have on a daily basis. But when I whispered that word, it was like a lightning bolt.
Oh.
And it really grabbed my attention. And I went to a church and I visited in November of 2019. It was that Sunday I heard a sermon, not by the senior pastor, but that sermon said 99% of us can be our own worst enemies.
Mm.
And it was like God was just talking to me through that pastor.
Yeah.
And then the weekend after that, being working full time, I had to first, there was a distance I had with my mother growing up, but towards the end of her life, we grew a lot closer, being her caregiver.
Yeah.
But but I still held the resentment. When you hold resentment, when you hold bitterness, and you hold it and you procrastinate over it because you just don't want to deal with it over the years,
Mm.
it leaves unforgiveness between you and God, you and your relationship with God, also your relationship with others.
Yeah.
And if you don't, unforgiveness separates us from God because it's sinful. And that's what sin does. It separates us. Even if you're not totally separated from God, that one little thing.
Mm.
But I let my inner critic really speak to me, and I bought into the lies of
Mm.
not being good enough, unworthy. But I had it until 2019, and I
Wow.
stood over my parents' grave. It was more of a symbolic gesture because both of them were deceased at the time. And I asked, it was a triangle forgiveness that now is now included into my coaching program. And
Oh.
that's how God will work.
Yeah.
He can take something that you walk through and you bring it, because you have to take care of yourself first before you can actually physically, I believe, forgive anyone else. But it is your inner critic, it is the lies we buy into. And I'm really, today now, the inner critic is what I kind of start off with any of my coaching with, because
Mm.
there's a method that I'll just share quickly. It's like we've got to first spot it. We got to spot the lie first.
Yeah.
Then we got to stop it. We
Mm.
got to stop that lie. But how do we do that? We swap it. We swap it with the
Love
truth
that.
of God's word, and God's word will always defeat that lie. So there's a lot of our brains are triggered for negativity. There's going to remember 3 to 10 negative responses to one compliment
Yeah.
because it's wired for survival, which is good in a physical sense if we're in danger, but it can wreak havoc on us spiritually with our faith because Satan, our enemy, wants to kill and steal and destroy and fill us with doubt. And that's what we buy into is the lies that he wants us to buy into. So that really started 2019. It really started the journey forward. I'm glad it did because we had 2 years afterwards where here in the US, with the lockdowns and
Yeah.
stuff, we all experienced, you couldn't do anything. But my faith grew, and my story just started revolving because once you face it, I believe God will open doors little by little, but you've got to be willing to say yes,
Mm.
even if you don't have the full clarity, but if you know that there's a nudge that usually you feel. And
Yeah.
if that nudge is right here and it's pulling you into that direction, and if you know that nudge, and if you have a really deep faith, that normally is probably going to be coming from God. And when you step into that, then that's when God starts to reveal. But He wants you to say yes, and then the clarity usually and the confirmation and the direction usually comes afterward. So
Yeah. Wow.
that's
Yeah.
how my journey started.
So much there, Anne. First of all, I just really want to say thank you to you for not only saying so many powerful things, but for being really, really, really real and honest. And in that, just in this, even if people don't even watch the rest of it, just in that one thing, that one part that you've just shared at the beginning, I know, faith or no faith, whatever, that everybody can relate to what you just said. And
Hmm.
it's just so important. I definitely can, and even in you speaking, I know that you're still speaking to me. Because people will look now, oh, she's all together, and just listen, guys, listen. It doesn't matter at what point where you're at, you will get the most equal challenge because if we don't have a challenge, we're never growing. So,
Right.
what someone else's challenge might be that might seem minor to someone else could be a complete, like, life-changing thing for someone else. So, first of all, thank you, thank you, thank you for all of that. And there's something really powerful that you said that I would love to know your take on. So,
Okay.
when you said basically, sometimes wow, I want to make sure I say your words right. Please correct me if I don't say them right. But the way I heard it was that you had that nudge, okay? Sometimes you don't know, but it's just that nudge and you feel that pull, okay?
Hmm.
Now, I'm just thinking about things in not necessarily right now in my life, but in my life. I would love to know your take on this because what I have found is you get the nudge, you get the pull, but it's almost like around you, everything seems to be a bit chaotic or a bit like it's kind of going a bit wrong to see. And I feel like that's where the faith has to come in. And
Hmm.
I promise you, when I say it like this, I'm not saying it at all to water down anyone's faith. I know that there's different names, there's different ways we say it, and I am full respectful of your faith. Otherwise, obviously, I would have never invited you on here. And there's no criteria for anyone on here because we are all on our journey, and we are, to me, we're all doing our beautiful life journeys the way we want to do them. So I respect everything about you and your faith. And even with me, I might not associate as a Christian, but I believe in God and I believe in something greater than me, whether I refer to it as the universe, whatever. I
Right.
know and I can relate exactly to what you're saying. And I think that's the beauty of actually having these conversations where, actually we're not always in an environment where everyone is kind of singing from the same sheet. I think these are the transformational conversations of, actually, do you know what? I understand you, you understand me, and we're all at different points in our life. Because like
Hmm.
what you said, there was a point, even though you had your faith, where, we don't always have the faith. So I think
Hmm.
that's really important, because we never know what's going to keep unfolding in anyone's lives. So
Hmm.
thank you. So I know I said that a really long-winded way, and I don't know where that just came from, but basically it just for people right now that are feeling that nudge and that pull. And I feel like even in a little part of my life right now, I feel that. And it's like, it just seems to be like, well, this doesn't feel like I should be doing this. And then, but I know that I should. And I feel like that's where the faith really needs to come in. And you have to be like, no, and have that certainty and that clarity, and just trust that when you get beyond that, it's going to be worth it. What would you say to that?
Yeah, I would say definitely 9 times out of 10, that's really going to be it. Because for myself, relating to the faith wise, I said the longer I ignore that nudge
Mm,
for myself, it gets more intense.
yeah.
That's why when I was backsliding over the years, God wanted to grab my attention to take care of and acknowledge what the root cause, because for myself, before I could move forward, I couldn't just say, well, it was that. I could say, yes, I was the problem, but when did it start? That's where, as a coach, I, I, our past, I believe our past doesn't define whom God says we are now.
Yes.
No.
Thank you.
So,
Yes.
but sometimes we need to go back to the past and revisit it, if especially most of the time I've learned when it's fear, it's always fear or something. It's that stronghold, our inner critic that says, no, I can't do this.
Mm,
No, I can't do that. So what do? We use distractions, busyness, or we procrastinate and making the decision to say we want to stay in that comfort state.
mm,
But to grow, if you're being pulled, then if you want to grow, you're going to have to grow into something and it's a little bit more uncomfortable state.
mhm.
And it is a little bit eerie at first, a little bit scary. But if you know that you're being pulled in that direction, and that is so, because until I give up and give in to God for myself, that is when the intensity stops and I have a
Mm,
peace,
yeah.
because and the peace is just beyond what I can understand. It happened in 2023 for
Yeah.
me, when literally sitting where I'm at now, and I was in prayer, and I'm being still a numbers girl,
Mm,
dealing with numbers and accounting all my life. It was about 6:45 a.m. in the morning, and I was in prayer, and God said, I want you to leave your job, leave the paycheck,
wow.
leave it. And I know now why he was wanting me to do it. But then I'm like, but God, what's next? What do you want me to do? But he was waiting for me. I mean, it was all the way up to here to my throat that I felt it.
Mm,
But
wow.
until I was crying, but it was not a bad, you know. And I'm like, I don't have a choice. If I don't say yes, I'm going to either go into a panic mode or something. But I knew God was calling me to take one of the biggest decisions of my life, leaving the security of a paycheck to do what? Well, I had to say, that's when I had to say, when you feel it right here,
Yeah.
and it is so uncomfortable,
Mm,
but until you give your yes, until I gave that yes,
mm,
then that's when I felt a peace. It just kind of flowed from my head to my feet and
beautiful.
then out. And I knew then it was the right decision. Even though I was still scared for the financial insecurity, I knew I
Mm.
had things to live on. But your inner critic is going to say, well, no, stay in your safe place, stay in your safe mode. But I said, no, get out of here. And I just said yes to God. And slowly, within about a month, then He revealed the next steps, which was because I had begun writing my blog before then. So I took a writing entrepreneurship course
Beautiful.
that really told me that a lot of writers were coaches.
Mm.
And as soon as I did that, then someone very close to me sent me a private message, just giving, and had no idea why. And then it was a message about the coach who I received my certification from and I still work with.
Wow.
That happened. And then I started working with her. And then she was the one right before I got certified. She helped me. She said, pull your blog post. My blog is called One Day at a Time. So even the daily walk started 3 years ago, even with that. And pulling that, she said, just pull your blog post together and pull it and self-publish a book. And I'm like, because you can do that over on Amazon, and which is what I did. And I discovered I had more poetry. And so I had over 70 poems that I had written because I
Wow.
love to write poetry. And I so my first book, Where Faith Takes Flight, is about the poetry that I had written in the previous year and a half. Um, but then God pulls you even further as you keep saying yes. And so it takes time to build your coaching or anything up because I went work from working for somebody else for
Yeah.
for so many years into this. And that's another thing you have to learn,
Yeah.
being your own boss, so to speak.
Yeah.
But it just, when you keep saying yes, the clarity is not always right then, but that is where your faith grows in
Mm.
trusting. And I've been now, God was helping saying, God, I believe provides for my provisions. And I still have the lights on, the roof over my head, transportation that I need. So I haven't suffered,
No.
but He provides. And it's really grown my faith even stronger, which I don't have words for it because every time I will say yes, and yes, it's a little uncomfortable. And I just finished and released my second book, which is not poetry. It's called The Red Letter Code. And it is about what I went through. It's like dropping the old labels that
Wow.
we've called ourselves. And then I found 30 names in the Bible that Jesus calls each one of us.
Beautiful.
And so that's how I got the red letter code. So there's 30 days each name, and that they all lead up to our identity in Christ, which is fundamentally for me. But all of that ties in. Everything that has started the blog, everything or writing has tied into the coaching theme, the writing theme, and now I see it, which I didn't know when I said what next 2 years ago.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Again, wow, I'm really, really enjoying this because you're just, again, I'm I'm hearing so much clarity and so much just transformation. I'm really thankful for this conversation right now. And there was two kind of things that I really heard very strongly. So the first was, that it doesn't come straight away. And I think this is really super important
Mhm.
because that's where the faith has to come.
Yeah.
And I really thank you. And you didn't, whether you were aware of it or not, you were just telling your beautiful journey, but you
Right.
actually said that more than once as well. And I think that's super important. And you said as well, which I think is like, when we say, oh, it doesn't straight away, you said a month one time as well. Like, I know this varies, and we're not
Mhm.
saying it's going to be a month or whatever, but that's really important because a month of potential uncertainty and just holding that faith. But that's, you can also hear, thankfully, because of you, the other side of it, multiple times. She still has her roof over her head. She just literally said there, you're sitting there and you just said that at that time you were in exactly the same place. Whether you're not, but I'm just saying the example. Has
Yeah.
anything changed? No. So this is that was a really, really big, amazing thing that you said. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
Um,
Yeah,
and
because it's not, nothing is going to happen overnight. You
yeah,
know that we as humans, our DNA is made up. We want everything right then.
yeah, we want it. We want it
But
yesterday.
but the only way, yeah, yeah, we want it then. But it's like, but if you're really going to grow, and if you're going to really grow into the potential of something, a lot of times you have to learn about it. And I had to
Yes.
learn about mine. But and that's why it's been like it was and how it has been for me, because God knew if he put everything on me at one time, I'd probably freak
Mm,
out, be overwhelmed.
yeah.
And any of us would be like that. It doesn't matter what. But that's why you don't understand things right away. But that
Mm,
isn't, they call it kind of a wilderness season where you're kind of just, or sometimes people will call it disorientation,
yeah.
but it's really, disorientation is not as good word. I like to use wilderness poetically,
Yeah,
for
I like
writing.
that. It's nice.
But it's kind of like in those wilderness or dry seasons. That's where we grow, we learn, and
Yeah.
we gain more clarity as we learn.
Yeah.
If we just the thing is, I keep stressing the inner critic, but
Mm,
it's really powerful because our brains are wired for negativity, like I said, and
mm,
our inner critic is the first thing. And if we have to stop believing the lies of the inner critic, when we
mm.
do, we will grow from our comfort zones into the uncomfortable,
Yeah.
and then we'll grow into the next uncomfortable things. But it's time, it's hard time for any of us to stop sitting on the sidelines, and we need to do what we are being called
Yeah.
or to do,
Yeah.
and use our gifts and talents. And yes, our faith and things we might be different, but that's why we have these conversations.
Yeah.
We respect each other, we can accept one another. We're not going to always agree, but between acceptance and not always agreeing, that's where you can set your individual boundaries and
Yeah.
not barriers. And
Absolutely.
when you're not walking in the right way and you don't know how to set boundaries and you're letting the inner critic work overtime, that is when you're going to start setting barriers or walls.
Yeah.
And that's when you're going to either, I think they call it fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Those
Mm,
four trauma experiences for fear. You're going to let that fear invoke one of those trauma experiences.
mm.
And it has for me. And that's when I would go into the people pleasing. I hate conflict, and I still hate conflict now, but I wait and I'm silent before if I ever have to say something. And if I do, I pray about it first.
Yeah.
And then, but I do set boundaries now, and I've learned how to do that, because all of the people pleasing and feeling stuck, feeling unworthy is imposter syndrome. And
Yeah.
that's really when we start feeling we're not good enough. And it's like, and that's why God has said, I want to help these people who are in transition where maybe they're making a big decision or something, or maybe because a lot of people don't like change, the word change, but I'm going to
Mm.
tell you, you change from one day to the next because you're
Yeah.
one day older. So sorry, people, we do change. Um, but it's just, I want people to stop feeling stuck and unsure of where their walk is in life. But you have to find the root cause. You have to dig deep. You
Yeah.
have to walk through forgiveness, because forgiveness is for all of us.
Mm.
And because if there's something unforgiven, it is keeping you from what your potential is
Yeah.
into helping others. And that is what I want. That is really, and I want people to learn how to walk daily, because it is daily when you walk up. This is something I wrote: let gratitude be the compass of your attitude,
Oh, that's
one day at a
beautiful.
time.
Yeah.
And you wake up with gratitude first. That's gonna really, it's really gonna help your day going forward.
Yeah.
Um, and we go to sleep at night with gratitude.
Yeah.
I try to practice it. I don't always, even now, I have a lot of flaws and I will continue, but I know where God's brought me. Now I know whom He wants to serve. And now I've had the experience to bring down to that little niche that needs to be so refined to the people that He wants me to serve. And so I know He'll bring them.
Yeah.
I'm still a little new at this, but it's like I'm excited about it. I'm excited for the people He's going to bring. And it's like, stop letting that inner critic work overtime.
Absolutely. So beautiful. And I agree with you 100%. Just from the things that you revealed in, and the other powerful thing that you said earlier, because I think often again, and I'd love your take on this, like, yeah, of course we kind of have to have some direction. Like, we can't just be like, oh, I just had this feeling, I'm just gonna now wait and see. Like, yeah, we have to have some action, like what you say, and daily, daily practices and tools and techniques, of course. But I think it's also really important. I hope I heard this right. This is how I had it in my head, was how you just continuously talk about the beautiful unfolding. And I think sometimes we're so like, that's where I'm heading and it's going to be exactly like that. And you miss the beautiful gems and the golden nuggets and the unveiling, like revealing.
Right.
So I think yes, like, if I heard you right, you even said like you were just focusing on your blog, and then coach came, and then, and like even now, like it just keeps coming. And that's what I love about what you're saying is, yeah, you have your things now that like you are really focusing on, and you're nurturing them and they're growing. But I think actually like turning that fear into fuel, it's actually quite exciting, because
Yeah.
like when you think of it of a box and you're just pulling out all the surprises,
Yeah.
like I think it's just sometimes reframing, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
reframing it of like, okay, I wouldn't be normal if I didn't have this feeling. And sometimes I'd love your take on this, but I find the inner critic normally when is loud, normally when transformation is coming or change. And what I try to do is, instead of seeing her as like a very unpleasant person that is not being very kind to me right now, um, I try to see her as like a kind of a child that has just like feels like her whole life, maybe like a teenager or something more than a child, and her whole life is being pulled apart, and why are you making these decisions, and we don't know what the answer is, and that she's just really like acting out to try and pull me back in and say, stop, enough, like I don't like it. So
Yeah.
I try my best, and none of us, like what you said, are perfect, but I try my best in those moments to just actually, instead of feel it attacking me, to sit with it and think, okay, where is this coming from? And see it almost as separate from me, like observing it. And then I'm like, okay, she's scared, or she's worried, or she's, and then I kind of just try and, if it was someone else, just add that compassion to it and be like, okay, darling, I know you're scared. I know you're worried about the money or the home or whatever. But what about if?
Yeah.
And I try to like use that imagination. It's not being delusional. It's not then like pretending everything is okay. But like what you said, sometimes we have to have the faith. So we are not going to know sometimes where the money comes from or when it's going to happen. So I can't give that that information now because I don't know, but actually I can give love and compassion. And because I noticed that when I really was like, okay, you're horrible, that's enough, it got louder and louder. Whereas when I kind of accept it and just like, okay, you're being a
Yeah.
moody teenager or something.
Yeah, because I get that a lot. What I tell people is just like, yes, you need to, it's okay to feel whatever you're feeling and because that gets where you need to feel what you're feeling,
Yeah.
but not bring it to the,
Not
as far
become it.
as
Yeah.
me, yeah, but don't bring it to the point of where it separates you from your faith.
Mm,
Because feelings are not sinful. It's how we act on those
of
feelings
course, yeah.
that starts to hurt us. See,
Yeah.
there's the thing we have when you feel it, there is a little thing called you can name it and tame it.
Oh, I love
Another
that.
little one. But that's the same thing as the inner critic where you can spot it, stop it, and swap it.
Yeah.
And also to help us avoid that is humans, we do give ourselves a lot of negative talk.
Yeah.
That's just part, I think, is part of our makeup. But at the same time, it's how can, like you say, I can't do something, but what if I can?
Yeah.
So if you just turn it around by saying, I don't want to do that, well, maybe ask yourself, why do I not want to do it? Because you really do need to grasp what the feeling is. Why is it being triggered?
Yeah.
But at the same time, you the inner critic will want you to believe the lie that you can't get over something, that you can't do
Mm,
something. But
yeah.
just try it. Stop saying I can't or I won't. But but what if I do? But what if I
Yeah.
can? And it's
Beautiful.
like, but that kind of time, if we say what if, is a positive reinforcement. So it's how we
Absolutely.
can turn those thoughts. If we think before we try to say something or something, we think positive, then we can turn that off. And I used to talk very negative to myself, or about myself.
Yeah.
And my coach spotted that, and I don't do as much of it as anymore. If I
Yeah.
do, I catch myself. I'm not
Beautiful.
100%. We never will be, but there are little things we can do like that. Just change the way our wording and it will start changing the way we see ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's awfully important. And it will defeat that stupid inner critic of ours.
Yeah.
I
Thank
call it
you.
stupid.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, yeah. Trust me, I had that's a really kind word that you used. Like, I definitely was like enough, and then now I'm like, okay. So yeah, no, so many things again. I really appreciate all that you've shared.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can relate to so much of it, and yeah, essentially, and I think this is the beautiful thing as well, is we're all very, very different. So I love that. Like some people, they don't want to go into that like sitting and pausing and thinking. They like what you say, they just want to enough, and I think
Yep.
this is really important why we share all this, because actually even from person to person, sometimes we do want to take that time where particularly as women, we have different cycles, so we are very different versions even in
Hmm.
1 month. So
Right.
so yeah, like there's sometimes in the month where being compassionate and taking time. Excuse me, I need the love right now. um, but yeah, I love that. I love that, and thank you for sharing that. And
The
I
main thing, the main thing I just want to say,
yeah,
it's okay to feel that way. But and then the only other thing I will add is we are not, if we don't sit in the stillness, whether it's in go for a walk in the nature,
Mm.
if we don't sit in the stillness and open our eyes to the beauty of our creation, or even in your own home, if you don't sit in that stillness, in that quiet long enough,
Yeah.
you're not gonna, to me, if you keep busying yourself, you're not going to be pulled in the direction that you're going to be pulled in. And I know for myself, that's the only way that because you, when you were saying before, we're going to miss those little gems,
Yeah.
those golden nuggets that actually are going to lead us. Because it happened for me just last week. I got an email, but it was a thought that something else I need to learn about, and it is from the same person about the same time of year 2 years ago
Wow.
that I'm taking now, because I need to take it underneath her, that's going to expand something else that I need to learn about. So I know who this person is, and I know it's legitimate. And it's like, I could not believe what something that I was thinking maybe I need to learn about in that evidently so, because it just popped up in an email.
Oh,
And so,
yeah.
and that just kind of happened 2 years ago when I took the writing entrepreneurship and discovered. I
Yeah.
don't think I'm going to discover something real different like coaching through that, but this time around. But the thing is, it's like when I'm ready for something else, and I just finished revising something, and I just finished the book. And so now I believe I'm being led, God is leading me to learn about this while building up this. So
Beautiful.
I can see it now like I couldn't see, but it's like I went just like, whoa, and I just went right to it, and I said yes to it because I felt like it was coming from God. So it's like you got to be still. You got to be still enough to, and the word I want to say is you've got to be, I can't think of the word all of a sudden, but it's like you want to be, you want to, you want to be alert enough. I guess that's
Yeah.
the best word. You want to be alert enough to recognize those type of things, but yet you got to be still, and you got to be quiet enough to understand that. Because if you busy and you procrastinate, you're not going to hear it. You're not going to feel it.
Yeah. That's really magical what you said. Literally, I believe like magical, because the moment, and even though I didn't at first realize it was prayer, I just saw it as intention setting, having that quiet time, thinking, and yeah, it's like I think things, and then it's like, really, you can't even, yeah, it's just such a beautiful way of living, and it's definitely something that I really value in my life. And like before, I would, like just from the way I was like brought up and things, like I was very like almost like conscious even though no one was around me, and I think we need to get over this, like even recently about the self-love and things, someone saying like, why don't we have a conversation with ourselves in the mirror? We talk to other people. Like, why can't we have that intimacy with ourselves? And we find that no one is there, but we almost like putting the judgment on ourselves, like it's weird. Like, why can't we have that quiet time with something greater than us and believe that there is something that we can't always see or know that is helping us and supporting us and guiding us? And I think this is so beautiful, and
Yeah.
my life has completely changed since this, and that's why I value these conversations, because we can all say it, but we have proof. We have proof in our life, we have proof, and sometimes the biggest thing, which I think you really highlighted, that a lot of people are not willing, well, not willing, but are scared to do the most, is sit with themselves. And
Hmm.
that's because we know to start with, this is going to be so loud. But I
Yeah.
like, and I'm sure you will say this, I promise you, even if you give yourself 1 week, just do it. And I promise you, all that, what if we want to call it ugliness, whatever, let it all come up, let it all come out. And trust me, the more you quieten this, the more you really, really are going to see like the most magical things
Yeah.
happen in your life.
Yeah. The more that you don't procrastinate and push it back into the unconscious, because believe you me, it'll come right back if you
Yeah,
don't.
yeah,
But that's grasping to the root of the problem. And with me, I sit in the quietness with God, or I will go for a walk out in
yeah,
nature
yeah,
because He's created it. And it's like, so I'm sitting out in nature or I'm walking in nature with Him,
yeah,
but I'm not usually, I'm walking, or you just get in and sit outside, on your
yeah,
back porch or something. But the thing is, if there is something, deal with it.
yeah,
It's like name it, tame it, feel it, but yet don't talk the negative thoughts to yourself.
yeah.
Let the thoughts come up, let them come. And if you do need to talk to someone, talk to a trusted friend, a mentor, or something like
Definitely.
that if you need that type of counsel. But at the end, take whatever they say, advice, but bring it all together and then you make the decision. And I will take advice from other people, but I always bring it to God. And then I ask God, what do you want me to take from this? And how do you want me to walk forward? I don't,
Absolutely.
I don't trust my own because I'm dependent on Him more, and I don't want the self control because of my relationship with Jesus. But for somebody else, it's the main thing is get your counsel, bring it all together,
Yeah.
but and it depends on the decision. If it doesn't have to be weigh, I don't want to say the pros and cons, but weigh what is best that you think that you're
Yeah,
being.
definitely.
There's that pull in that direction.
Absolutely. I really value all that you're saying, and I also really want to, as you're on here and sharing all the incredible things that you've found out and the insights in your journey, I think also it's really important to celebrate you as a coach, and that, you know, this is why we're having this powerful conversation, because those initial stages, you don't need to do it on your own. That's the whole
Hmm.
point. Of course, we want people to find that inner power and feel really like connected and inspired, but also we are humans, and we are in, community is so important. But when we are on that transformational path, it's important to connect with ladies like yourself, Anne. That's why you're on here today, because
Hmm.
sometimes you need to think, where are you heading? And often the clue, if you're listening to this incredible lady now and you're thinking, I want to self-publish, I want to write my book, I want to do this, you don't need to listen and then have to figure out. She has walked the path, she's already done it. Connect with her, even have a discovery call with her. We don't have to work it out ourselves. This is why these conversations are super important. So I just really wanted, because I felt like you're such a beautiful person that I feel like you wouldn't have really sold how
Yeah.
fabulous you are. So I really wanted to
Well,
celebrate you.
and we're never meant to walk as humans. We're never meant to live life alone. We are meant to live in community. And
Yeah.
sometimes, if it doesn't matter if you're writing a book or if you're facing a tough decision, if you're in transition and you feel stuck and there is something triggering that,
Mm,
um, sometimes we need somebody to work
yeah.
with you to help peel back those layers.
Yes.
And yes, it might be painful depending on what we find out,
Yeah.
but I walk alongside them. I walk
Yes. Thank
with
you.
them on the journey, and we go. from the faith, fear, forgiveness, freedom to fervent. And
Thank you,
that's
because I was waiting for
and
you to
that
say about your
and
five Fs.
those are the five F's. Those are the five pillars to my program.
Beautiful.
And we walk through each one slowly. But the most important thing is we go from stop being stuck to walking daily for me with Christ. And
Yeah,
we walk daily. We discover each one of us have God-given gifts. And what I want people to do is to just rediscover them because sometimes, depending on the trauma, they'll change.
yeah,
And so I want to rediscover those. And then I also want them to learn to write their testimony. It's different than a story,
yeah.
but to learn how to write their testimony and use everything that they've learned to use to be a part of the global impact within their own communities,
That's
furthering
beautiful.
God's kingdom to make the world a better place. Because um, that is why I'm doing. That's my passion for others to spread. Maybe I can say the gospel message, but more than that, it's to make the world. But it's also to help make the world a better place. But they
Absolutely.
can do it within their own communities using their gifts,
Yeah,
their talents, because we all have them. Even if you're nothing but a prayer warrior and you think that's minor, that is major.
yeah.
And you can start your own prayer ministry. So it's
Exactly.
exactly, I
Exactly.
mean, it's that, let me tell you something, that is empowerment to know that somebody is praying for you.
Yeah.
And so that's what my message is all about. I'm here to help. And you can always go to my website at Anne, A-N-N-E, Wooten, WOOTEN.com.
Beautiful. All of that will be in the notes, so don't anyone worry about
Yeah.
having to go and run and find a pen or cord. All her information is going to be in the notes. And wow, Anne, like really, like I feel like even before I'm about to ask you the next thing, you just beautifully just naturally say it anyway. And I think that's what's the beauty of this is like, no rehearsal, no script, just it just ends up what we need to say comes out anyway, just
Hmm.
naturally. So thank you so much. One thing that I really, really love my guests to do just before like we end, because I'm loving this time with you, but I want to be conscious of your time as well. Is I just say like whether you want to call it intuition or off the top of your head, whatever you think. Um, what one thing or message do you think that someone listening right now would really, really need to hear?
I would say if you feel that you feel unloved, if you feel it's too late, if you feel unworthy, if you feel unqualified, let me tell you, those are the biggest lies
Mm,
because you are worthy. You are loved by God, and you do not have to be qualified. You be qualified because guess what? God will give you the tools to equip you from what He has called you to do. It's never too late. You're never too old because believe you me, it took me longer than I would love to have done probably, but it's not too late for me. It's,
no.
being my age, it's not too late and you're not done. You
Oh, wow.
and God loves you for who you are. And the one last thing is no matter how you do it, when you learn, you do it messy
Yes.
because you're going to make mistakes, but the mistakes we learn from, and those are blessings
Yeah.
because they help you grow and they will point you back into the right direction. So,
Beautiful. And even in hearing your incredible, empowering words, she is only getting started, everyone. Watch this space. So, Wow, Anne, it's been such a blessing, and I'm so excited for you and all that's unfolding for you. And I know there's going to be a lot of people watching that are definitely going to be reaching out and wanting to connect with you. So, thank you for your time and for sharing all your raw realness and truth and transformation. It's been really empowering. And yeah, just thank you for such a beautiful, beautiful
Well,
co-creation. So.
thank you so much for the invitation to be on, and it was a pleasure. Pleasure's all mine.
You're so
Thank you.
welcome. Bye.